Good evening, everybody. Alex StarCraft here, bringing you for the very first time one of my own games. Now, you could probably almost even tell it was a lower level game based off of how long it took me to send my drones. Now, of course, there's only 1 or 2 seconds, but if that was a professional, that little gap wouldn't have been there. Now, I'm deciding to bring you one of my own games, one of my friends' encouragement. Just because I kind of want to. I know some casters occasionally do that. Casters like StarCraft or HD StarCraft will occasionally do it. Of course, they are high master, basically grandmaster level players. So, of course, that's a little bit different. They're not like me. I'm a high platinum. But the reason I did choose this game is this player motom I'm playing against is actually a diamond. Now, this is one of 4 diamonds I've played against. One of which left the game immediately, so that doesn't actually count. But this was just my first game back, first game playing in quite a while, and I decided, I just started laddering. And it was actually after the fact, after the game, that my friend pointed out he was a diamond. So that was actually kind of cool, and made me decide, oh, I want to cast this. Now, of course, at the same time, I'll kind of be analyzing my play, so we might see like some weird build things, some weird macro problems that you wouldn't see in a diamond level player, or especially a master player, a professional player. But, you know, I like to think that someone might like to watch my play. So it'd be interesting to see. So we do have motom throwing down the 2 racks. It looks like he's going to be doing some 2 racks pressure. You see he does have his Marines rallied over here. And I actually, okay, so I am scouting. As I said, this is my first game back in a while. So, of course, my build, I'm just kind of like, what do I do? So that's why you saw me, it's like 15 hatch. Oh, I should have scouted by now. So then I'm sending out the drone, and I do know he's not here because of the Overlord. So I'm scouting up here. Unfortunately, by the time I get here, his second supply depot was already there, so I can't scout the gases, because the fact that he has no gas is indicative of the fact that he's doing a 2 rack. That's generally how any race scouts a Terran. If they have no gas, 1 gas, or 2 gas, it can tell you kind of what they're going to do. So fortunately, I don't see, he's actually putting this barracks on the low ground, so my drone actually almost could have seen it, but of course he smartly turns it away because he knows I might have been able to see it if he landed right there. And we do have the first SCV on the way. Now here's where I believe, yes, my build order starts to get really screwed up here. Now I do have the Overlord here, which is something nice I've learned. I know to keep this Overlord here because otherwise, of course, your hatch has 0 vision. Excuse me. So this way I can see the bunker. But you can see, so my spawning pool hatchery are almost finished. I do have free supply, but I have about 300 minerals, so this is the exact kind of scenario in which I want to be. And then you see me just kind of mess it up, because the one big thing you notice, there are indeed no queens in production. Now, I swear to God, I had both my hatcheries selected, and I hit Q twice, but apparently not. So I have no queens on the way, I have no zerglings in production. I should be building a spine here in a second, but right now I'm just kind of focusing on my micro. Because I've watched a lot on how to hold off a 2 racks, I've seen a lot, I know a lot of like the theory, but this is actually the first 2 racks I think I've ever encountered in ladder, or it was the first one that was good enough that I think I could actually consider it a bunker rush, or a 2 racks bunker rush. Because a lot of the other ones I've been up against, they're just not executed well, or they do it like with gas. So at that point, you know, it's not really even a bunker rush. Now I do cancel on the spine crawler right there. I do have a good amount of zerglings in production. I have 8 here, and I have 4 more in the production. So I'm trying to snipe that SCV, trying to make sure that bunker doesn't get done. And I think at the last moment I do maybe snipe the SCV. The problem is usually to snipe the SCV you can attack command, but you can't now because of all the Marines. Okay, the bunker does complete, but it goes down almost immediately, and I do have the spine crawler done. Now, I did construct the spine crawler in range of the bunker, but the bunker cannot reach the spine crawler. The way you do that is you construct it diagonally, because it actually outranges it by 1. So I'm not quite able to pick all of these off yet. You see, uproot my spine crawler, send my queen, and then like get my first injects and start to, you know, drone up a little bit. Now the big thing you'll notice, I was supposed to have my drones in gas and pull off at about 100, and during that whole thing I didn't, so I have about 250 gas. But both of us had some macro slips. We're both just trying to transition. You'll see I actually do have a few more workers than him, because he wasn't actually producing workers during that whole thing. He still isn't, as a matter of fact. But he does have a command center on the way, so he's going to try and get a little bit of a economic boost now that he's done that damage. At the same time, I'm going to be trying to drone up, and I believe I'll also be throwing down a macro hatch here in just a second. You guys will see kind of what my strategy is as the game unfolds. I'm trying not to reveal too much about it now, because obviously then it wouldn't be too much of a cast. It would just be kind of me explaining to you guys what to do. There's no surprise. There's no element of surprise, you could say. So anyway, you see both of us is droning up. He's grabbing his gases. We're both just trying to kind of get back on our feet, get our macro back so it's not terrible after that whole thing. Now, of course, my macro's okay, except for all that extra gas. He, I guess, was not making workers or anything through that entire thing, because he has a lot of minerals, and he's just now grabbing his gases. Now, for a Terran, getting your gases that late is actually, you know, kind of a really big issue, just because Terrans are quite gas heavy. A lot of people say they're not really. I would say both are kind of true, oddly enough, because I think Terrans are not the gas heavy race overall, like throughout the game, but I think to get up and running, they do take more gas, because, for example, you need to get the tech lab or reactor, and then if you want to get a factory and go Hellions, all that stuff. So it'll be like you'll need 100 gas pretty quickly, which can be kind of hard to do unless you have your timings down really well or get a second gas or something. But anyway, you see me doing a little wall off with these evolution chambers to work with Hellions, and I've got these spine crawlers. This one's kind of in a choke. I do have my +1/+1 on the way. So at this point, you guys would probably be guessing, or could maybe guess what my strategy is, so I'll feel comfortable telling it to you. It's kind of a mass Zergling with upgrade strategy. It's very similar to a lot of the things you'll see people like Destiny doing, where it is mass Zerglings, and then with quick upgrades, and you also get infestors, essentially. Because I do prefer the infestors to the mulas. Okay, so he has 3 command centers now. I was confused. I was like, didn't he have one already? That's a very interesting decision. I guess he's using it to get this saturated faster, which did work. He's indeed saturated now, and now he needs to try and use it to get the other one saturated, because he's too many now. You see, we are about even on workers. I'm pushing out with these Zerglings to try and get a little bit of map control, which hopefully I will. And I should maybe be still droning up. I definitely am not saturated on these bases yet, but you do see me, I'm starting to make a whole bunch of Zerglings. Trying my best to keep up on injects with my meager 50 APM. No, that's not bad for what I usually do, but, you know, it's not great. I'm not Korean, nothing like that. You do see I have my Zerglings running around the map, trying to get some map control, trying to get control of the Zelnaga Towers, which apparently I don't have control of that one. But I'm sure I will eventually. And I do see this expansion with the Overlord. I see the gases, so I know, okay, he's got this expansion now. Which is actually, even though I didn't see this command center, he could have had it much earlier. But lucky for me, he didn't, and the gas timings was actually quite indicative of when it actually did go down. Now, it looks like he's actually going to be going for what might be a huge Hellion play. I'm not exactly sure. But he does have 3 factories on the way. One of them is getting siege mode. Another one with a tech lab, so that could be for either siege tanks or some kind of upgrades. And then one with a reactor. That has to be for Hellions. So it looks like he actually might be going for a mech kind of playstyle, which there's been a lot of discussion about recently. I know on things like the, what do you call it, the State of the Game podcast and all that stuff about meching Terrans, because you see, of course, Terrans usually go for bio or some kind of bio mech like marine tank or marine marauder medevac, and players have not really explored mech that much yet. And now a lot of people say that's because it's a very hard thing to do, because it's so slow, and it makes it so if you make one mistake, you can be entirely screwed. Like if you don't bring your tanks slowly forward like you're supposed to, Zerglings can just destroy you if they catch you off guard. But we do see him actually starting to go for this. Now I remember this part. This part's funny. He's trying to go and land his expansion here, but I do have Overlord, so he actually gets there and then turns around and runs the other way. So I do think I'm doing a fairly good job with the map control, knowing what he has. I don't know if he has this expansion or not, but generally Terrans don't take that one. They like to take this one. But I do have this one checked as well as this one. I actually have 3 Overlords here. And so right now, you'll see me getting my pathogen glands and my 2-2 along with burrow for a second. I actually canceled it and put it on another hatchery because I would want to get hive pretty soon. Or I want to try and get hive, I believe. And the thing that always confuses me with this strategy is the way it should work is you should be basically getting a lot of Zerglings And then once you kill the Terran force, you'll attack the force somewhere in here, not when they're right outside your base, like Zergs often do, and then you'll expand. But the problem is when they're doing big macro or something like this and they don't attack, then when do you expand? So right now you see me, I'm going in, I'm just denying this expansion, I'm doing as much damage as I can. Of course he just lifts it off and it's not that effective. And he also does send his army, but he does lift it off. So you get to see his Hellions, Marines, and Thors. Remember, here's where the first engagement starts coming. I'm throwing down my creep tumors. So you see both of us were playing our best, but both of our macros are just not great. You can kind of tell. Now my supply is actually far below his. Now one thing I did notice is I did not really have enough drones. I am mostly saturated, kind of there. You can see though, there's some times when patches aren't being mined from. This one's a bit better saturated, but you can still kind of see like this one. But we do have the push coming out from the Terran. Now it's just a Marine force with no combat shield or anything, and then the tanks and Thor. So I do send my Zerglings in to try and catch it, so his tanks are currently unsieged. Now you see that didn't go very well, might have scared him off a bit, but I'm making as many Zerglings as I can as well as the Infestor, and I am on creep. I'm trying to control my Zerglings and keep everything together, but of course, it's very hard to do. He's trying to snipe the Infestor, but I do think I'll get a fungal off on the Hellions, yes. And my Zerglings are just swarming in. Now, if the tanks, they're just sieging up. So once again, even though he had many more units than me, my Zerglings do a good amount of damage, but you do see 54 Zerglings in production. And yay, my macro is good again. Of course, the supply is still way ahead of mine. I am going to be forced to cancel this, which of course is not good because I'm still on 2 bases. I still only have 45 drones, but I'm routing all my Zerglings to right here from my macro hash. They'll just continuously flooding out. I do have my 2 Infestors, so I just run up and catch him. Again, it's one of those situations where you just attack him, and because I got there before he was sieged up, he loses everything. And now these units are just going to become fodder if my Zerglings can catch up. He does have this base starting to run, and I do see this base being constructed. So again, I'm very aware of where things are going on the map, so that's good. But also, I'm on equal bases with a Terran right now, and that is never good. Now, you just see me making 4 more Infestors because I knew the mass-only Zergling wouldn't be great. But I do run in here and try and do some damage to that before he might cancel it, but he's actually doing a very good job lifting all of these things off. But once again, you see both of our macros starting to slip a bit. The Terran has about 3,000 minerals and 1,000 gas. I have about 1,500 minerals. My gas isn't doing that bad. But again, I'm just trying to get up these bases because I currently do not have enough gas, really. And I definitely don't have enough drones. Now, I know I do make more later, but you do see me with my adrenal glands, my +3 attack on the way, and I believe I get my +3 carapace fairly soon. And I do have me actually running in with a bunch of Infestors and spewing infested Terran all into here. Now I do kill all of the workers, and now I try my best to kill the command center, and it looks like I actually am going to get it. He tries to call down some mules to repair, but he can't quite. He does scan for the Infestors. Luckily what I did is I clicked the Infestors over and did the shift clicking with infested Terran all in here, and then I just shift click them back. So here are the veteran Terrans now I use, or Infestors I should say now. You'll see they have like a combined 12 kills. I killed 16 workers there, so that was very good. A nice little thing. And that's the best thing I actually like using Infestors for. Of course, their fungals are great, but what I love to do is just have them just deny expansions, because stuff like Zerglings are good, but then the command center can fly, and you can't actually do this much. Now, he does have this up and running with a whole bunch of mules. Wow, that is a lot. So his mineral income is just going to skyrocket. And there it is. There's the rest of my drones. I do recall there's a point when I was like, oh, I need more drones. And I just held down the D button. I ended up making like 25, and I was worried that might be a bit too much. But it turns out it's an okay number. I'm actually a little bit low. So I'm not doing too bad. And once again, you see him pushing out with a huge Blue Flame Hellion army. I believe it's Blue Flame. And of course, that is not great. Okay, it is Blue Flame. That is not great for my Zerglings. I do manage to catch a few of the Hellions with my fungal growth, but now it's really just my Infestors against this. And so what I decide to do is I just start spawning mass infested Terran, because sure, he has a few siege tanks, but they're not sieged. And so with a combination of infested Terran and rallying Zerglings, I managed to chase him out. And the thing with the Hellions is they're good, but when there's this many Zerglings and that many Hellions, because they can't really get them in a choke, the Zerglings actually aren't bad. So now I'm engaging with my infested Terran. He's actually being forced to pull away just because of how much damage that is. Now the Terran player, what he really needs to do, he definitely needs more production facilities, because you'll see he cannot keep up with his mineral spending. You see he's throwing down 3 Hellions and 4 Vikings, along with 3 siege tanks trying to keep up, and he's grabbing more gases. Now the problem is with him getting the Vikings is I'm actually not going the Viking route. As you guys can see in the production tab right now, I have 6 Ultralisks on the way, because it works well. Because again, the point is to catch them outside the map and do a little bit of counterattacking and stuff. But Broodlords are so slow, and with things like Vikings and Ghosts, they're so easy to deal with. Ultralisks actually work a lot better with the Zerglings. And then again, the Zerglings work so well just because of the fact that they are only minerals. They work so well with all these hugely gas-heavy units. So you do see my Ultralisks finally managing to do some damage here. Gonna clean up everything. All there is the one last Hellion, but he doesn't stand a chance, of course. So I do see this is not mining. I do see this is mining a little bit. This is mining a little bit. I actually do believe I killed more workers. Yes, I did kill more workers. I got 11 more. So this has still not really been mining too much. So I'm ahead on workers, and I've been ahead on income. I do have these gases running. But you can see this is a very long game. Now this is definitely something I need to work on against Terran for sure. I didn't have a whole lot of experience playing against them for a long time actually. When I was trying to work my way into Platinum League from Gold League, I remember I played something like 25 games with 1 Terran. So all my Terran games, just because of the way I played, I don't quite have my macro down and everything. All the games tend to go really, really long, because I can hold off all of their stuff, but I can't kill them. Of course, that's just kind of the nature of Terran. I'm running in here with a whole bunch of Zerglings and a whole bunch of Ultralisks. Now, of course, the Zerglings is kind of being fodder for the Hellions and landed Vikings and the Thors, and I do have my Infestors right here, and I think I try and burrow them. No, I do get a fungal off. Of course, I have to run them. I've got the 6 more Infestors on the way, so luckily my macro actually supports Ultralisks fairly well right now. I've got just about the right mineral and gas income ratio. Now you see he's like running around here. I think he's checking this expansion, but he's also trying to run a little bit at the same time. Now it does look he's going to run up into my main, and my Ultralisks are right there, but luckily I have a few that are about to spawn right here. So that's really going to save me, and I do have a whole bunch of infested Terran coming in from the back. Now here with my Ultralisk spawning, he's not actually going to be able to get very far, especially with the fact that it's that there's a choke. The Ultralisk, you see the splash damage doing very well against the Thors there. So this game is just kind of transitioned into a long macro game. But you'll see I am now ahead of him in army supply. We're about equal on worker supply. He actually is a very he's a good number of workers for a Terran. I'm a bit low for a Zerg. But you do see I'm starting to get my Ultralisks, and I think you'll see at the same time I'm just producing massive numbers of Zerglings just because they're only minerals. So it fits in so well with the Ultralisks. Of course, I don't know why I did, because I still have so much gas. But I will also be needing Overlords soon, which was something I'd forgotten about, because for the majority of the game I actually haven't gotten above 130. I did also get the Spire just in case I wanted to make Mulisks. But you do see now the Ultralisks starting to get up to a scary number. I've got the 9 Ultralisks. I actually forgot to get, I apparently forgot to get the +3 Carapace or the Chitinous Plating. Which of course that will give the Ultralisk 5 armor, which is wonderful, but because he's not going against Marines, that doesn't actually make a huge difference. Versus the Thors, those extra 1 or 2 Ultralisks are almost just as good. So you see my Ultralisk finally starting to tear through his units here. Actually, it seems like all he has left is Hellions. And so you see I'm making a whole bunch of Ultralisks. I think I'm trying my best to keep up on my injects, keep up with the larva. Because of course that's a hard thing. I absolutely destroy this base. And he's scrambling for units. He's sieging these units up. But I did manage to get some Zerglings into there. Now the Ultralisks are rallying in, and he simply doesn't have enough units, I don't think, to be able to hold this. And there we go. He just leaves the game with no GG. Not exactly sure why that is. He might have been kind of frustrated just because he might have thought he was ahead the whole game, and all of a sudden he had Ultralisks just kind of destroying him. But I don't really know. I hope you guys enjoyed that, either for comedic or strategic purposes. But either way, it helped me analyze my play a little bit, and I hope to maybe some of you learned a little bit about my play or Zerg versus Terran, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. So, without further ado, have a wonderful day.